Well, it probably, well, it was a defining factor in the history of this area in southern Indiana because nothing like that had ever happened before, and thank God that it's not happened again. I was only 14, so I don't remember a whole lot. My most vivid memory is we always had chorus class after school, and I attended St. Paul here in Tell City, and back then you got out of school about 10 minutes after 3, and we usually started chorus practice right around 3:20 or 3:25, and at that time you were in grades 1 through 8, and then high school, and the elementary schools had no way of offering shop classes, so the 8th grade boys from both St. Paul and Newman would walk up to the high school, which was a distance of about 3 blocks, and have their last class in the evening would be shop, and they were late getting back, and Sister Rosemary, who was the course teacher, was getting a little perturbed because they were always back by 3:15, and it was 25 minutes after 3, and there were still no boys. So we noticed as they walked in that they were very white. I think Sister was maybe upset enough that she didn't notice that, and she asked them what the meaning of it was being so late, and they said, one of them spoke up and said, "We just saw a plane fall out of the sky." And she reminded them that it was not nice to tell lies, and what were they really doing, and they said that's what they were doing. About that time, the principal come across with the old-fashioned speaker and asked that we have a moment of silent prayer, that they had just gotten word from the state police that there had been a plane crash up around Counton, and it did not look good. So that was my first hearing of that, and of course she tried to have chorus practice after that, but there was no having chorus practice. Everybody wanted to find out what was really going on, so I think we had maybe 20 minutes of chorus practice, and then we went home and got in front of the TVs, and by that time it was 4:35 o'clock, and the news was beginning to come out on the television and on the radios, and everybody was pretty well glued to TV watching that unfold.
How much devastation was there?
I didn't get to go, but from all reports, all the interviews I've done, it was terrible. I mean, there was clothes hanging from the trees. Parts of the wings were found 5 miles away. I mean, the plane literally fell apart in midair, and when it crashed, it went into a crater, and for all intent and purposes, things were pretty well buried. So there wasn't much left.
How many people died on the plane?
63. 57 passengers and 6 crew members.
What was the cause of the crash?
It was determined many months later that it was a structural defect in the way the plane was put together, and that due to the extremely cold weather and the amount of turbulence that was in the air, the wings and so forth were weakened, and this was actually the 3rd crash of that plane in a 6-month period. The other 2 planes, one was a Braniff airliner, and I think the other one was a Southeastern or Southwestern, and this was a Northwest Electra jet. And I think there were a few flights after that they made them reduce their speed significantly, but the public was so afraid of them by then that the plane actually is still in use and in the Navy, but it was modified for their purposes, and it would have been a wonderful plane had it not had the defects that it had.